computer. Okay, so everybody's good for being recorded. I'll be on your best behavior. All right. If anyone else comes in, that's fine. We can add them. So this evening, we're going to be looking at the magician. Last week, we covered the Fool. And as we talked about the Fool, let's see if I can bring this over. The Fool is at the top of the tarot tableau, but he's not really there. He's in between all of the cards, as we discussed last week. And the Fool is you. This is you on your adventure in the abyss, which is Earth, you could say, or the three-dimensional space as opposed to four-dimensional space. And you're on your way. Let's look at this just a little, into your adventures. And you have the intellect as your companion. That's the little white dog. And you have in your satchel all your memories of previous lives since time immemorial. And you access those memories through your spiritual sight. So as we recall on the Fool card, you've got a satchel that has an eye and an eagle on it. And the eye is your ability to see. And that is one of the things we're learning to develop using the tarot is that we have 5 senses. You can see and hear and taste and feel. I'm sure I've left one out. And smell without your body. You actually have those senses. They're at the point of causation, as one would call it. They're before your body. So with or without it, you can develop the use of those senses. In the East, people raise the Kundalini to open up various chakras, and that reminds you, because you've already got them, but reminds you that you have those senses available to you. So also, we use those senses, even though we call them intuition or intuitive. Even as we think all you see is all there is, and we think that our feeling and touching and smelling and taste are all in this three-dimensional world. But that's not the case. About 20 to 40% of the time, we actually work with our intuitive senses. We actually have a sense about things. And so they're available to us. We're just not, and they're fully developed, because I'm getting these words, yeah, they're just not developed. But the reality is they're fully developed. We are just fully forgotten that we have them available to us. And the great thing about the tarot is it triggers your subconscious mind. It triggers your mind to awaken those senses within you. So here we are over here. We're starting out. We're the doer. We're the one who wants to do things and talk about the magician. So the key 0, the Fool, is everywhere throughout the deck, everywhere. Therefore, key 1, the magician, is considered the actual beginning of the tarot deck. The background is yellow, the same as the Fool card, again signifying mental equilibrium and intellect at the superconscious plane of mental activity. It also represents the element air and Mercury, the ruling planet of this card. So as you can see, we're still operating at a high level of consciousness, but then we're just beginning our journey into manifestation. And I will mention that some of those who are just attending, that there's only 3 characters in this book, as I consider the tarot a book. And we're talking just the major arcana cards, the picture cards. The balance of the tarot cards are the numerical cards and the king and queen and jack of our regular deck of cards that we play poker with and gin rummy, etc. And the 4 suits represent the 4 elements: fire, air, earth, and water. When I'm teaching this, I'm teaching the Major Arcana, and therefore I don't teach spreads or fortune telling, mainly because you're here to run your life, not have someone else tell you how it's being run or what's in your future. Now, an oracle is a good thing, but something can happen and whatever's predicted could completely go out the window because you've changed your mind. So we're dealing with 3 characters: the superconscious mind, the subconscious mind, and the conscious mind. And in the tarot, there's no such thing as anything being unconscious, because everything is creation. So creation is everywhere. There's no time, no space. It is just everywhere. So everything is conscious. Even that little can you kick down the road from time to time. Okay, so let's see how these characters interact and how they relate to you. The primary functions of this key are attention, beginning, and concentration. These are represented by his stance and his attention to the magical tools on the table. How has he prepared himself? His undergarment is white, signifying purity of spirit needed for this work. His headband is also white, holding back the dark locks of ignorance and inertia. The wings on the band refer to the rhythmic motion of air and of Mercury, the winged messenger of thought. So those are these right there on the band of his head. The identity of this card is intellect and self-consciousness. His main magic consists of what he can do just by wanting to do it. His red robe represents his desire nature and indicates action, courage, strength, and physical energy. The identity of the magician is the self-conscious mind. You are the doer. When he is doing magic, he must put on his red robe. This activates the implements on his table. We are the mediator between our inner and outer aspects of life, and this is exercised primarily through our desire nature. So desire is a good thing. You don't move without it. He has to put on a red robe to act. You notice he has yet to pick up any of his tools. And his right hand, the right hand of power, is holding a wand, which is hollow. And it's an acknowledgement that above him is where his power lies. When you look at the cards, above always means within. It means within at the heart center in your body. So anytime you see someone in the cards doing something up, it just means within. You close your eyes, you tune out what we call the material or lowest rate of vibration, and relax and enjoy the adventure within. And this, he just wants to do it. So this is the point of it's an archetypal card. So it's across the top in the tarot tableau. They're all archetypal cards. And it's expressing how you create by just wanting to create. How to get those forms in your life is what the tarot is about. But you have to have desire. So let's continue with what's on the picture. And I will bring one over here. Let's see if I can grab this. So this is going to be behind us. And I'm going to take us and move us a little to the right. I can't move this to the left. If I make it smaller, I can move it over. Ta-da, that helps a little. The figure 8 over his head symbolizes infinity in the rhythm of involution and evolution. The serpent swallowing its tail wrapped around his waist is a symbol of eternity and regenerative force. So based on this, he accepts eternity as the framework within which he acts. You live forever. His right hand, the hand of power, lifts up a hollow wand with a bud at the top. This means that you recognize that all the power you use comes from our Creator. In our study, this means you need to place your attention on the source of life, which is found within you. The wand is a sexual symbol. The magician has sublimated his reproductive forces. This allows his will to be used as a hollow channel for the will of God. He directs his attention with his left hand, pointing toward his work table. The magician's pointing finger is a direct reference to the balancing tongue in paragraph 1 of chapter 3 in the ancient text called the Book of Creation. Okay. Keep my Hebrew away. The Book of Creation. This paragraph is as follows. 3 mother letters, Aleph, Mem, Shin. Their foundation is the scale of merit, good, and the scale of guilt, evil. And the tongue is an equilibrating law between the two. So here you have the scales. So what does that mean, and why is it so important? First, we need to know that the 3 mother letters are the most important letters in the Hebrew alphabet. They represent the 3 elements, air, fire, and water. Second, the scale mentioned is like the balancing scale in the hands of justice on key 11. She is balancing good on one side of the scale and evil on the other. The letter Aleph represents the element air and is a symbol for man's willpower. You have freedom of choice. You choose. So I was just talking to Renee as she came onto the class, and she was talking about a friend of hers who kind of gets himself worked up. You choose, and then you get ill. So you have to learn how to recognize your choices are not healthy or are healthy, and understand that you choose and direct your life. The letter M stands for the element water. The letter Shin stands for the element fire. So here is what the Book of Creation is saying in paragraph 1. If mankind does not use his willpower, symbolized by air, the surrounding conditions, symbolized by water and fire, will toss him about as they wish. Does that sound like your life sometimes? Why are so many things happening to me right now? A little disorganized. Man has to learn how to use his willpower to master his surrounding conditions. The balancing scale is only mastered by the finger which willfully directs the pointer. The 4 tools the magician is pointing at on his table over here are fire, air, earth, and water. He has not yet picked them up and used them. So we have our work cut out for us, but the path, our hero's journey, has been identified. You use your will to create. We find the magician in the middle of a green garden of red roses and white lilies. They represent the subconscious mind, the second character in our story. He cultivates this garden by focusing his attention on it. Its flowers are the red roses of human love and desire for action. The lilies represent pure thought and divine love. The green stems and leaves indicate growth, symbolizing the harmony of nature, and Venus, a symbol for love. What are the tools of his craft that the magician will be using? They are spread out on his table. which is likened to the drawing board of an engineer or artist, where designs or blueprints are made. They represent the four elements or principles in nature: fire, air, earth, and water. In the full deck of tarot cards, they are the four suits of playing cards. Fire is the white wand signifying will. Water is the silver chalice of imagination and knowing. Air is the steel sword of daring and formation. Earth is the silent coin of dense materialization. So let's look at those. And there's your coin with a pentagram on it, which is quite interesting. Note that on the coin is the five-pointed star, the pentagram, which is an icon of the human microcosm. The four elements with the upper point being the quintessence or spirit of man. It symbolizes man's dominion over all the powers of nature. Coins represent success in the world. The pentagram on top of this coin represents spiritual success. Paul Foster Case tells us, there is a natural order to their use that the magician must learn. You are the magician, so there are things you need to learn in a certain order. Energy moves in a path through these worlds. The wand is the archetypal world of ideas. The cup is the creative world of forms. The sword is the formative world of mechanics. And the coin is the world of result. There are four occult instructions we need to learn through experience: to will, to know, to dare, and to be silent. They correspond to the four elements. We need fire and water, but most of all, we need action. And once you set about what you're going to accomplish, it's best to keep it to yourself and be quiet. The magician's white garment is his pure nature. The snake is a limit between that and the red robe full of desire. We create through desire, never forget that. Within the boundary of the snake, this is the real condition of man. The snake swallowing its own tail means it's self-fed. When you want more, you must put on your red robe. The letter B for Beth means house. Its numerical value is 2, as it's the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It is also the first point of division from 1 into 2, or duality. In the card, Beth means the dwelling place for the self, the temple of the living God. And I'll show you. Down here, there's a little house and letters and symbols in the lower right-hand corner of this particular deck. The figure of the magician represents your house of personality through which the spirit of your own true self expresses itself. Through the study of the tarot, we are learning to transmute our personality one day at a time. Psalm 127, except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain who build it. So let's go back and look at some things and get an idea of your starting point here. Our hero's journey has been identified. One of the things this expresses is the ability to quiet your mind. And part of that is through focus and attention. To quiet your mind, we use different skills. In our order, we always use the orange exercise. You walked in the door of this holy order and they handed you an orange. And I've put up an orange exercise on this website. You can find it on the side as we go up. And it helps you to calm your mind. You do it a couple of times a day. You don't get to do it more than 3 times. And if you take the orange, you put it in front of you, and you look at the flesh on the outside, and you go in and you look at the white flesh on the color on the outside, the flesh on the inside, and you go through this process. If you think any other thought other than the orange or about the orange, you stop. And you have to go back to the beginning. And you get 3 tries. And then you forget it. I mean, if you forgot to turn off the coffee maker or whatever, any little thought, you have to go back. And that's part of the discipline. What this enables you, though, is when you walk into a room, you see far more than you would have. When you stand before a person, you see more of them than you would be able to. By quieting your mind and not allowing it to just ramble on, it allows you to spend a little more time with creation, our creator. Very important to spend that time. People talk about meditating. I knew nothing about meditating when I went in the holy order that I joined. Nothing. I tried to keep myself in the back corner so nobody would know I had no idea about meditating and all these wonderful things. But I did do great with the orange. I did it every morning for about a year, and that helped a lot. And when I went to meditate, I would put my attention on something and I could read it. I could read that thing. I could wonder about something. I could wonder about an activity, and I would be told a response. I would get a response. So praying is not just, it's a form of prayer. It's not just asking for things. It's actually having communion or conversation with creation and getting a response. That's not what you thought up. It's actually getting, do this or look at that, or don't forget to take your keys with you as you go out the door and they're on the other side of your place. So concentration is very necessary. It's one of the first things you need to work with. And that's why the magician key is the first one. You're the doer, you're putting on your cloak of desire, and you want things because we're creators. We create. That's natural to us. How we create and what we create, of course, enters our life. And if you've got things in your life you don't want there, you created them. So you have to figure out how to uncreate them or walk away and become objective. So you learn, and the tarot is great at teaching us how to be objective. So let's see, this is good. Let's move on to the feminine, to the next one. The High Priestess. There she is in all her glory. So the High Priestess is the virgin subconscious mind. This is a card that has a lot of signals concerning memory, the mnemonics, the ability to remember. So far, we're being introduced to the conscious mind, which is the magician, and now we're meeting the subconscious mind. And I will just, okay, let me pull this down. I do this large, yeah, until she's off, and then I'll bring the other one over. So key 2 is the High Priestess. Surrounded by the color blue, the High Priestess is representative of the soul and the subconscious plane of mental activity. According to the color chart, the color blue signifies water, memory, receptivity, and reflection. The source of all the rivers and pools in the keys come from this card. We have to remember that water, things dissolve in water. and can be diluted by it, but also can hold a lot. Water can hold, and you can dissolve things in water. So just keep that in the back of your mind as you think about the activity of this, the High Priestess, which represents the soul and the subconscious plane of mental activity. And the subconscious plane is both the Holy Spirit and the feminine. Coming to that. She is the subconscious feminine element that responds to the masculine self-conscious mind of the magician key. Both of them are not active yet. There must be an exchange between these two for anything to happen in the tarot. The Hebrew letter assigned to this card is Gimel, which is G in English and means camel. The name Gimel signifies travel and communication. In that regard, the subconscious mind is then the agency of telepathic communication. It's the agency. There is but one mind we live in. If you're walking down the street and you're just thinking, and you're, say, in a city, and there's other people walking around you, not a lot of people, maybe 20 or 30 are going up and down blocks in a city, and you think something, it's not necessarily what you're thinking. It could be like the guy down the street is thinking that, because we all radiate our thoughts out. And because of that, we're also receivers, and we hear the thoughts of others. Sometimes we think they're ours, and other times we know they're not ours. I've walked down the street and I'm going along and I hear this really nasty comment, like this angry something, and I will stop and turn around and go, who is that around here thinking that? I mean, it's just not my head. That's not in my head. On the other hand, as you grow in consciousness of what and who you are, you radiate that too. That's why the tarot is so great, because as you evolve, people around you will evolve. And it's not an ego thing. It's just you become more light. You become more like the sun in the sky, of which this whole solar system lives and has its being because of that sunshine. And as you allow the sun within you to come out, then that affects everyone around you. If you're in a crowd and everybody's going in the same direction or thinking the same thing, you can understand that feeling. But you can walk into that crowd, and if the crowd is a negative situation and you are filled with light, and you just keep your mind on creation and on God, it breaks it up. It just does. And you don't do anything. So the subconscious mind is then the agency of telepathic communication. And it's simple. It's not just sending out particular thoughts. It's also sending out vibration and a different mind. Gimel has the numerical value 3 on the tree of life. The High Priestess is the third point on the supernal triangle at the top, called Bina. So that's our tree of life. See if I can find our tree of life on here. We do have her. Okay, nope. That did not work. There it is. They're all behind each other. Nope. The tree of life has disappeared, so we will just look at her. Okay. I will make this a little smaller, so we can see her.
Margot?
Yeah. Can you not see it?
Well, I was gonna see, can you see this? Is this what you're talking
Oh,
about?
yes, there, yes. Do you see the 3 at the top of the tree of life?
Over
Yeah, I
here.
did have it on my other screen, but it has gone away. Thank you.
Mhm.
So Gimel has the numerical value 3 on the tree of life. The High Priestess is the 3rd point. So top 1, 2, 3, this point over here. At the top called Bina. The Greek uppercase letter delta is the standard mathematical symbol to represent change in some quantity. The law of nature, which we're discussing here, is always represented by a triangle. The activation of this law takes place in the Empress key 3, which is the next card that we'll discuss. Here at the High Priestess card, your feminine subconscious mind is quiet and still. She is the underlying power behind all nature. She is poised and receptive and is at all times amenable to control by suggestion. These suggestions originate in the mental activities symbolized by the magician, who is the symbol for your self-conscious mind. So just to go a little further with that. So this triangle that we're talking about, you have a point and 2 points. This triangle, we call it the law triangle, the law of nature. It's how things manifest. It's like getting the directions to making a cake. It's how it works, and it always works. You, the doer, decide in your head, you think about something that you want to create. And when you do that, you hand it over to your subconscious mind to deliver it to you. And you do this whether you're making with your hands or just with your mind. Now, we as human beings have been trained to do everything with our hands. When we're little, we make things. At some point, you will make things and you won't have your hands involved. The thing is, you already are doing that. You're just not fully aware of how much you're doing it. So the idea is at the top of this triangle is a superconscious mind, which has a positive, negative energy because it has everything. And over here in this little triangle, and in the church, they call it Father, Son, Holy Spirit. It's a father, son, you could say daughter, because it's the feminine. So you've got this coming from God, and you've decided over here, the little guy, you're going to make something. But you can't make it because it has to come through the creative principle, which is the subconscious mind. You have to learn how to work the subconscious mind. You do this quote, unconsciously, meaning this is your normal method of madness to create your life, but you're not aware of that's the only way your life exists. And if you were, you might change your mind about certain things that you do, or you learn how to control certain things that you do using your mind, which is what healing entails. They're all sort of wonderful little tools you can pick up on healing, how you can reprogram your mind through healing. But the law of nature is always, you get an idea, you want to make it, but if it can't manifest without the feminine. And all of these characters are within you. It's not your mother, your sister, your niece, your grandmother. And the male is not the father, the son, and all the male identities that we have. These are all 3 characters, and the superconscious mind is within you too, God, because each of you are a star. Each one of you is a star. If you look at the sun today, you have that at the center of your being. You're a star. And your solar system is your body. And everything that goes on in your solar system, you create, good, bad, or indifferent. So that's the law of nature. There you are. The scroll on her lap, identified as Torah, contains the record of everything in the universe. Plus, Torah is the word for the law of nature, which lays out how this universe works, if you have eyes to see. She's the internet on steroids. She's got everything. Oh, and the subconscious mind, that's Amazon on steroids. It delivers everything to you. Anything you can think of, you get. The whole point of our effort here is to learn how to manipulate this law from the point of view of the magician. So let's get to know this powerful lady a little better. The ruling planet of this card is the moon, and the ruling sign is Cancer. The identity of the card is soul or subconscious mind. Her path of wisdom on the tree of life is 13, called Uniting Intelligence. What does the card tell us about her? First, she is the virgin goddess in the ancient worlds. She is the Egyptian goddess, Isis veiled. You will meet her again on key 17, the star, as Isis Uranus unveiled. And that is this card. Let's see if I can grab it. Right down here. So here she is here, and she's veiled, and here she's unveiled. And that's the card of meditation, where all is revealed to you by creation. When you meditate, that's how you get information. Astrologically, she represents the moon. Her crown is of silver, metal of the moon, constructed of 3 moons, waxing, waning, and full. She sits within a temple. The gray veil behind her is the veil before the inner sanctuary. The gray color refers to the union of opposites, black and white, the color of wisdom. The pomegranate, symbol of femininity, and the palms, symbol of masculinity, suggest a union of positive and negative forces, symbolizing her position as the uniting intelligence. She is the universal mind, the cosmic mind stuff, the great sea in which we live. Now you get the idea of water. I mean, look at the oceans, all the critters in the oceans that live in there. And of course, there's an old story about one fish said to the other, someone mentioned there's a sea around here. And the other fish looked at him and he says, I've never seen it. Have you seen the sea? That's like the mind of God. Have you seen the mind of God? It's all here. Okay, just want to toss that out. All right, so Isis is all of Mother Nature, not just the feminine aspect. Water represents the nature of mind. It holds everything in solution, all possibilities. Her number 2 is a symbol of replication and memory, the basic function of the subconscious mind. It also suggests the negative aspects of deception and illusion. How is that so? She is a recording device that records everything coming from the self-conscious mind, is completely amenable to suggestion, and then multiplies its observations ad infinitum for better or worse in your life. I will mention that again. She is a recording device. She has no opinion of her own. She is a recording device that records everything coming from the self-conscious mind, whether you think it or say it, is completely amenable to suggestion. Anything you suggest to her, hey, she's headed, you got it. And then, but she also multiplies its observations ad infinitum for better or worse in your life. So that's where loops come in. I keep repeating this over and over and over again, those little loops. So you have to learn how to get rid of those. But you first started out putting something into the mind, the subconscious mind, and it's still delivering it. The two pillars are Solomon and Hermes. The white pillar displays the letter Yod, initial of the word Jochen, father of Mary. On top of the pillar is fire, our tool, willpower. Remember willpower? That's what gets you out of all the trouble you're in, or not in, or the wonderful life you want to live. The black pillar displays the letter Beth, initial of Boaz, husband of Ruth. For strength, Boaz is rooted in resistance or inertia. On top of the pillar is water, the passive polarity, and our tools, imagination and knowing. Whatever you can imagine, you can have. If you know you can have it. Knowing is like self-esteem created. Knowing is if you say, go there, something goes there. You have to know it. Or you'll get kind of peripheral things, not exactly what you wanted. Imagination and knowing. Knowing only comes from experience. Oh my God, guess what that means? We're on the planet Earth, and guess how many experiences you're going to have here until you really know who you are and know how to operate. You're going to have a lot of experiences. And guess what happens with all those experiences? Chaos leads to change. So anytime you go through a period of chaos, look on the bright side. Change is right around the corner. And with change comes more knowing that something works. When you do a blessing happens. Imagination, the ability to imagine things, sort of get out of your, I see a block, get out of this block and try something different. But knowing comes from discovery through your experiences. The white pillar is positive. The black pillar symbolizes negativity. The high priestess sits between and is the equilibrating power between activity and inertia, between the light and the darkness. This is supported by looking at the Book of Creation, chapter 3, which refers to the interaction of the three mother letters, Aleph, Mem, and Shin. Here we go again, just what we looked at with the magician. Here we find Aleph, spirit, air, which is man, represented by the high priestess, and the two scales, Mem, water, and Shin, fire, equilibrated by Aleph. No action has taken place yet, as the high priestess is a virgin. These two great pillars represent the polarity in nature, which is the means of productivity. The virgin sits between them to show that truth is found between opposite extremes. All action is rooted in the opposite of forces, whether physical or spiritual. Between these is the veiled entrance to the holy place of God. Balance is really important. But you don't know balance until you've tried out the extremes. And we've talked about that there's a whole series of letters that represent extremes, life and death, etc. And the polarity in nature, which is the means of productivity, guess what? We're in duality. We live in a world of duality. We have male and female. We have both male, female, and God within ourselves. And then we express creation through having a feminine form or a masculine form that we operate through. Everything is duality. The tarot has to get through the back door on us because our mind can't conceive outside of these dualities. And yet it has to evolve. So there'll be times when you have an aha moment, you have an experience, you've gone through a difficult time, and all of a sudden you see the truth of it, and it's an aha moment. You each have had these. That comes from inside you. That's not because you figured it out. You may figure things out to some degree, but at some point, there's a leap that takes place. We're trying to get into more of those leap positions by studying the tarot so that our life is easier and we're taken care of better by our creation, which is all around us, like the sea is to the little fishes. It's always available. Where we place our attention is what responds to us and what we give life to. And the means of productivity is polarity. Oh God. That's where you get spinning going on. And it's wonderful. If you can take on the feeling of objectivity in your life. So the High Priestess sits on a cube. Each pillar rests on a cube. The cube of space is a construction created in the Book of Creation, chapter 2, from the 22 Hebrew letters, 3 mothers, 7 doubles. Remember I mentioned the double letters. They're all opposites, and 12 simple. The double letters are the 6 faces of the cube and the central point within it. So a face of the cube is each of these faces, there's 6 faces, and the central point, which you can see key 21 in there, the world. The 3 mother letters travel within the cube. So the 3 mother letters we've talked about travel. So here's one that goes across. The hanged man goes across. I'm trying to find the hangman on here. Oh, here he is. The hangman. They go across. Look at the hangman. And he's illumined, so his hands are tied behind him. That's a lovely symbol. He's upside down, and his hands are tied behind him, and he creates. He creates with his mind. The cube symbolizes both creation made manifest and how it is made manifest. Look at the card. The High Priestess and the 2 pillars are resting on stone cubes. The word stone in Hebrew is EBN, Eben, broken down to EB, meaning father, and BN, meaning son. So the word stone, Eben, expresses that the father and son are one. Therefore, according to this card, all subconscious mental activity is based on or sitting on a cube with the realization that the father and son are one. That takes us back to the knowing up here. If you know that you're one with creation, then you rest on it and you create from that. And that takes a bit of work. That takes practice. It takes practice to live that knowing in your life. The letter Gimel is a Hebrew double letter pronounced 2 different ways and rules peace and strife. Your ability to use your willpower determines the extent to which you are able to maintain the balance between peace and strife in your life. The cubes sit on a yellow floor down here, reminding us of mental equilibrium and intellect. We are all connected to the divine mind. So why doesn't your life work? Get rid of the distractions. Learn to still your mind in order to pick up the information from the High Priestess. Still your mind. So that's back to the magician. Concentration is the first thing you need to do. Before you get into any metaphysics and complicated stuff, you need to quiet your mind. The magician key teaches concentration and the dedication needed to make real progress. Gentle persuasion, not loud voices, will only work with her. She is Mother Nature, a presence. You ever go into a large park and you don't see any humans around? There's a presence there. The internet doesn't hold a candle to her once you remember your connection. You've got everything at your fingertips whenever you ask a question. And you could be asking questions while you're grocery shopping. You don't have to be meditating. The whole point of this is to be in your life in such a degree that you're out wandering around and you get answers to questions. Or you get instructions when you're going out the door, like I do. Don't forget, like I said, don't forget your keys. Don't forget, or I'll get little comments like book. Oh, right, I'm supposed to bring that book. And I go look for the book and I get it. Just pops in. It makes my life so much easier than getting there and finding out I forgot half the stuff I needed to take. And I don't have to remind myself. I've got this all going on. Just going on normal mode. Do not be fooled into believing that you're living on the physical plane. This one I love. You receive input from the material, but you live in the mind. Yes, you have a brain, but you are mind. You must be clear about this for any of this to make sense to you. That clarity will come as you move along in your journey. The world around you is a mental creation. There is nothing but mind. Things around you and in your body, those are morphic fields that you can remove if you understand everything is mind. It just takes, a little bit of switching and evolving. You must be clear about this for any of this to make sense to you. This clarity will come as you move along in your journey. Oh, and I will say the cards will be speaking to your subconscious mind as you look at them, as you color them. The point of coloring them is to get you to look at them. We got to come in the back door with this, because our mind has all the solutions, has figured out all the things that it needs to, and knows all the answers. So we need to go in the back door, the subconscious mind. So you can start having aha moments, joyful aha moments. The world around you is a mental creation. Something you can imagine is real. Mind is totally impressionable. Thoughts have weight and value. There's a danger in being wrapped up in memory. Yeah, you can never be the person you were yesterday. You have evolved from yesterday. If you hang out in your past, those of us who get older, we have a lot more past to hang out in. If you hang out in those places, you've evolved. You could never fit in those places or under those circumstances now. You just couldn't. You've changed. If you run into friends you knew 50 years ago, oops, that dates me, or 20 years ago for some of you, and they look at you and you've changed and they've changed, you cannot go back. People who think, oh, I'd love to know what my previous life was, because if you start doing this, you start realizing you've had previous lives, but you can't even be that person. It's foolish. You could be King Tut or something, but King Tut was nothing compared to where you are now. You're in a body that's evolved because as our minds evolve, our bodies have to evolve, because every cell in your body, every single cell has a mind. It has a nucleus, and it responds to your mind in thought. And we have bodies that are very different than they were 1,000 years ago, 300 years ago. So don't get stuck in the past. There's a danger in being wrapped up in memory. Simply focus your attention on something else and concentrate on that. Focus on something new, different. You're going forward now. You're here, you're going forward, and by next week you will have evolved some more, because you've been looking at the High Priestess, and triggers are going off in your subconscious mind about this. Okay, remember Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita? He told Arjuna that in order to get himself out of his karma, he needed to place his mind in a completely different direction from what bugged him or what pleased him. Krishna simply had Arjuna concentrate on Krishna, on God. It cut the karmic string. The inner self will always urge you to find your own path. So each one of you is completely different. Each one of you is a personality that's completely different. And now you've met the feminine and the masculine, the doer and the virgin before she starts creating. And our next class is going to be about the Empress key. She's pregnant. So it looks like the magician and the high priestess got together. And now we have the Empress. Let's see if I can make this a little bigger. No. She's here in green. Green is the color of Venus, not red. Desire is the color of red. But green is Venus, healing, mother. So we'll go on to that next week. And before we do, we have a meditation that relates to, that's the magician. Let's see if I can go back. And so for the magician, as Beth, I am thy house of thought and personality, the dwelling place of divine life breath, receiver and transmitter of the will to good. One only, changeless, indivisible am I. On my drawing bench, the tools are laid, the mixing bowl of elements, that through attention, manifold expressions may flow unending from above. O Lord, I love the habitation of thy house, the place where thy glory dwells. I'm not sure if I can pull up, because of my understanding of these cards. This is not moving. Yep. So I'm going to have to close this. So there we have it. Let's see. And there we are. And I hope you liked it.
It was wonderful. Thank
Get your
you.
toes wet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, get your
Martha.
toes wet. We're really at the beginning. It's just kind of getting a hang of what the cards mean, but it's really to understand yourselves and how life operates. And it's delightful. And just remember, I think I was talking to a friend the other day, I was talking about sacred anxiety. I think I brought that up to a few friends. And Sue knows that because we get that from Mark Ehrlichs. He's an amazing healer. Sacred anxiety is you get anxious, things aren't going right. But guess what? It means change is coming. You're about to go into a new you're evolving. Otherwise, you're a couch potato. So when Mark brought up sacred anxiety, I thought of it as, oh, joy. Changes are coming into my life. And go and step back and be objective and depersonalized. And then you can hang in there and make it through those changes. So, my dears, I hope we've had a nice little class.
Very good. Thank you.
Excellent.
Excellent.
And we will see you all next week, hopefully. And we'll see what
Thanks
the Empress
again.
has in store for us. Take care, everyone.
Okay.
You too.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for coming.
Love you. Bye.
Yes,
Love
bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.